special feeling that become memories. Favorite melodies sung in harmony, lyrics that will tell your story. Come and join the adventures that we now share.
Welcome to tonight's episode of the Songs of Our Lives. This evening's program will feature stories from the life of Carol Sippola as she's interviewed by the lovely Lois Rindlisbacher. We will also hear from the very talented and accomplished violinist Kelsey McCann, who will play her rendition of one of Carol's favorite songs, Nearer, My God, to Thee. Let's catch up with Lois and Carol right now as they are talking about the songs and stories of Carol's life.
Carol, what a pleasure it is to sit here with you this evening. And the purpose of our program is to just be able to talk to people about the role that music plays in their lives. And you have a great story to tell. Even as we started talking about music, you busted out in a song, didn't you?
I did what?
You busted out in a song.
I did, yes. Did you want to hear the history of my father so that...
We want to hear the history of, if it includes your father, of why music means so much to you.
Okay, when we moved, I was born in Flint, Michigan, but in December of 53, and then by June of 55, we were moving to Royal Oak, where my dad took a position as vocal music teacher at the high school, and also was a choir director at a church down in Detroit for an extra $20 a week back then. But that's how hard of a worker he was for our family. And so at the young age of 2 years old, I was a Baptist from the time I was 2 until now. And so I would, Sunday school was before church, and of course the little kids, like during church, I was like in the nursery school or whatever, and we learned kids Bible songs and stuff.
Absolutely.
So then once I got old enough to sit in the sanctuary and listen to the sermon, I would sit in the front pew with my dad, and I'd sit next to him because he had to be able to get up and go up onto the podium. So I'd sit next to him, and right there in front there was the organist, and I would watch her play the organ, and then I would go home and I would use my brother's bunk bed, the stairs to the bunk bed, and put playing cards, and I would pretend that I was Nancy Mall, the organist. So music music has been like everything in
it's
our
in your blood.
My mother, you can just say a phrase and my mother will break into song. They're just a phrase, and she knows a song to sort of like what I just did, whatever, at the beginning of this. And so music has been huge, and my dad would teach a cappella choir, which was sopranos, altos, tenors, basses, usually juniors and seniors. And then he also taught Boys Glee Club, and he taught music appreciation, and he taught music theory. And then in the afternoon, it was his job to go from school to school because he was music coordinator for the city of Royal Oak. So we would have, if he was teaching music history, and at that time he would purchase like My Fair Lady and Carousel and in order to teach these classes. But if he was not using those and he was like teaching Rachmaninoff, or Schubert was his favorite, or Handel or whatever, if he was teaching, then he could bring those albums home to our house and we would play it on the Victrola.
Wow.
And when I was old enough where my brothers would be like out and my mother and father would be out on Saturday nights or whatever, I would lay on the floor of the dining room, because that's where the record player was, and I would play West Side Story, or I would play My Fair Lady, or I would pretend that I was Julie Andrews in My Fair Lady. I would try and hit all the notes. I tried to learn all the songs. I have West Side Story memorized down, like, and most Carousel's a big one. So, and he would also bring, if he bought music for the choirs to sing, he would buy enough for us to have one piece of that music to come home at our house, because my mother played piano. And so he would bring us home the choral music for The King and I, or he would bring us home Oh, What a Beautiful Morning, or he would bring us home Rodgers and Hammerstein Showtime Choral Collection, which was any Rodgers and Hammerstein. If I Loved You, It's a Grand Night for Singing, I Whistle a Happy Tune, June is Busting Out All Over, Oh, What a Beautiful, so like Some Enchanted Evening, so South Pacific, King and I. So we always had this music in our piano bench. Mm-hmm. Well, then when my mother had to move, she gave the piano to poor church that didn't have a piano. She wanted somebody to use this piano, so she was cleaning out the piano bench, and I was there. Stace, my daughter, and I were there. So she said, any music that you want to bring home, take home. So The King and I, and Oh, What a Beautiful Morning, and I brought home.
What year are those from?
Oh, these would be like the 50.
In the 50s?
Well, he started teaching at Kimball. He taught at Dondero for 2 years until Kimball opened. So there were 2 high schools. There were enough students in that city at the time to have 2 high schools. So the first 2 years he taught at Dondero, and then when they got Kimball built, then they moved him to Kimball. So I mean, I don't know when the plays actually were, but the music came from like 55.
Okay.
That type of thing.
Right.
And then People comes out, so he brings home, that was one of my mother's favorite songs, so he had the choir sing People, and he brings home People, so that my mother has that. He brought home for the Holidays. And now is this only one song, or is this... Anyway, I think it's only one song. Meredith Wilson's Home for the Holidays. He brought home chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose. You had to have one of those in the Lancaster piano bench at all times. Then this is the Sounds of the Carpenters. Now this is what we sang when I was either a junior or a senior in his choir. We sang, and in this was We've Only Just Begun.
Oh, so the real
Saturday.
Karen and
Richard Carpenter from the 70s. Their first hit was 1970, and that's the year my brother Scott graduated. And the hit song was They Long to Be Close to You. So then We've Only Just Begun came out, and Rainy Days and Mondays. So our choir that year sang this Sounds of the Carpenters, and it's We've Only Just Begun, and then it went into Saturday. I don't even remember what Saturday sounds like, and then it went into Rainy Days and Mondays always get me down. Doo-doo. And then, it's like you want to shed a tear because Rainy Days and Mondays can tend to get you down.
Now, out of all of that beautiful collection, tell us a few of your favorites and why they are your favorites.
One of my favorites of all time, one of the most beautiful but simplest songs I find is the song "If" by Bread.
Oh.
If a picture paints 1,000 words, then why can't I paint you? It's a gorgeous song. It's simple. It's just gorgeous. And then another song would be If I Loved You, words wouldn't come in an easy way. Round in circles I go. And that would be Julie Jordan's part. And then Gordon McRae would come in and he'd do the man part. If I loved you, time and again I would try to say all I'd want you to know. So If I Loved You has to be at the top of, and anything from West Side Story, and the song This Nearly Was Mine from Some Enchanted Evening, South Pacific. Mm. This nearly was mine, that one love to be living for, one life to be living for. This nearly was mine, close to my heart she came, only to fly away. Now you see how much of this music I have memorized the words to from laying on the dining room floor, listening to these records over and over and over again. And even though I'm in my 60s, I still have a lot of most of the lyrics to these songs in my head. And they just aren't going away. I don't know if when I get Alzheimer's later on in my life, if they will disappear or not, but Some Enchanted Evening, who can beat Some Enchanted Evening? And I Whistle a Happy Tune. Whenever I feel afraid, I strike a careless pose. Now, were you guys wanting me to sing when I...
This is great. This is great.
Okay.
So music has always touched your life.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you. When I am with you, getting to know what to say. I mean, June is busting out all over. all over the meadows and the hills, and the Surrey with the fringe on top. However that song went, like you just can't, you can't beat, you can't beat these songs.
Yep.
And then there's the religious songs. One of my favorite hymns is, believe it or not, one of them is "Nearer, My God, to Thee." Now, do you want to know why?
Of course I do. We do.
When I was a child, a very young child, I watched the movie Titanic with Barbara Stanwyck in it.
Oh.
And I was very moved about watching the Titanic sink. And the ladies are getting out into the boats, into and the children into the boats with the kids. And the band decides to come together and play "Nearer, My God, to Thee" as the Titanic is sinking.
We appreciate your experience of your whole lifetime growing up with a father who loved music, a mother who played music, and
sang.
And so thank you for sharing with us your story. And
I'm very happy to do so.
Thank you.
I'm honored. I'm just honored to have been asked. So I thank you very much that you asked me to come and share what music has meant to me, because it has just influenced my whole life since I was 2 years old.
There you go. Thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you very much for having me.
You bet.
Thank you, Carol and Lois, for such wonderful memories and stories. So many songs were shared that it was difficult to choose the best one to perform for Carol. But alas, we chose a song, "Nearer, My God, to Thee," because of the touching story of the musicians playing this piece as the Titanic sank. Could you even imagine? At this time, we're so happy to have Kelsey McCann perform this piece for Carol on the violin. Take it away, Kelsey. Thank you, Kelsey. That was beautiful. Lois and Carol, thank you also for sharing the musical stories of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Songs of Our Lives. My name is Wendell Phipps.